So as we start to work with more projects, I'll be streamlining this initial part of it, like saving the file. You can go here and pick save and then save it to what your instructor is requiring you to use. I'm using assignment 5, but check with your instructor on the name of the file and where it's submitted. I created 2 layers with layer properties, objects, and dim text. I set one of them a different color. I decided to use white for the objects layer, but you can use whatever colors. But the object layer needs to be 0.60. We're staying with some practice here for you. And then we want to double click or click on this set current icon to put that little green check mark there and set that one current. That means it should be the top one up here. That's the one we're going to be drawing on. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. So the object layer is current. All right. So in this assignment, each time we're going to add new tools. In this one, we're going to take a look at polar and rectangular array. We're going to use rectangular array for this one, where you only need to draw one circle, and then you can tell AutoCAD how many rows and columns that you need, and it'll automatically create a grid of information, and we'll talk about that. And then instead of creating all of the circles, we'll create the circles on the left side, and then we'll use the mirror command to mirror these circles to the other side. I could draw all of the left side and then mirror it over to the right side here. So let's get started. This box here is 5 by 3.5, and this is the assignment that we're doing together. The other one is this one. I'll talk about it a little bit, but at this point, I think we're ready to take that one on. And like I said, I sometimes create introduction videos for these, especially since you have another line type here, the hidden. So as a choice, you can create another layer called hidden and put those lines on there. Okay, so going back to the one we're working on here, I'm going to draw a box. Now, we've been drawing regular lines for this rectangle, this 5 by 3.5, but this time we're going to take a look at using a rectangle. So the rectangle command is up in the draw panel. You'll see it right just to the right of arc right there. Go ahead and click on rectangle. And then there are a lot of different ways of doing this, but it says in your command line to pick the first corner. So I'm going to pick a corner that would represent the bottom left corner of this. And then when I pull my mouse this way, you see it's looking for dimensions. So go into the command line and click on dimensions, or you can type in D and enter to get to that. So you go ahead and start the rectangle command, click a point, click on the word dimensions in the command line. The length of the rectangle is going to be 5. So that's at the bottom there, going from left to right. So type in 5 and enter. And then the width is going to be 3.5. So type in 3.5 and enter. There's one more step with the rectangle because it's asking you to click for the other corner, to click which way to draw that rectangle. So I'll pull my mouse towards the upper right and left click. I'll just draw it one more time, just to practice, for your practice. Start the rectangle command, click a point, pick dimensions in the command line, type in 5 and enter for the length and 3.5 and enter for the width, and then click for the other corner. All right, I'm going to select this one and erase it because we just need this one right here. Now the difference is that when we drew a line, all of those individual lines were separate pieces, separate objects. And with this, because it's a polyline, so this is a polyline and the polyline is all one piece. And so if we drew it with the polyline command, sort of like a line, it would be the same, all one piece. So there are some advantages for that, and we'll use that later on, especially when we start to work with a small floor plan. But I do want to show you what happens when we offset this rectangle before we explode it, right, into individual pieces. We only need this one little circle at the bottom left corner. And there are 22 of them, and if you read this note, it's R0.188. So the radius of all these circles is 0.188. And this bottom left corner circle is 0.5 from the corner. So let's use the offset command to offset 0.5 in from this rectangle. So over here, I'll start the offset command. I type in 0.5 and enter. I select the object to offset. I'm reading my command line, which is that rectangle. And then you see how you can go outside or inside. We want to go inside and left click. And there's our offset. So you see, sometimes it is better to have a polyline to offset the whole thing. All right, so escape out of that. We're going to explode this polyline, both of these. And this is a good command to also pick up. It's right underneath the erase command. And there it is, explode. Let's go ahead and click on explode and select both of these polylines right there and there, and then enter. So what you'll see is that you can now select these lines here when we couldn't before. We don't really need those two, so I'm going to delete those. I just deleted these extra ones, but I do need this one because that's the one I'm going to use to draw the circle. We can do that right now. The circle has a radius of 0.188, so I'm going to go up to circle center radius. I'll click right at the intersection of those two inner lines for the center point, and I'll type in 0.188 and enter. There's my first circle. Now, I'm going to go ahead and erase these other two lines just to clear up the screen. I can show you how to use array. So select these two lines and erase. All right, so just to take a look at it, it's in the modify panel. And if you look at the bottom row there and you just rest your pointer, you'll see that there's a command called array. If you click on the little arrow, you'll see that we have rectangular array, path array, and polar array. So you might have one object and now you want to create several of them in a grid or along a path or around a center point. That's the difference between these. So we have a grid and we can go ahead and click rectangular array and then select your circle because it's asking you in the command line to select the object, and then enter it because when you're done selecting and your command line still says select objects, you're going to press enter or right click and get that array. Now notice that the whole ribbon changes. Now we do have grips to use as well, but I want to show you the ribbon because we need to enter how many columns and how many rows. So we have a panel that's called columns and one that's called rows. If you look at the handout, we have 2 columns and a total of 5 rows. So right here, that top part, that top edit box of columns, I'm going to type in 2. And it's asking between. So what's the distance between your columns? So the distance between our columns is 0.75. And you can get that right there, 0.75 between the 2 columns. So how many rows do we have? If you click over here and you type in 5 for the number of rows that we have right here, and the distance between them is 0.625. So I'm going to click right here where it says between 0.625 and enter. I've got my array here of 2 columns that are 0.75 distance right here, and then 5 rows with the distance between them 0.625. And that's the array command. Let's go ahead, a rectangular array. Let's go ahead and pick, we could even either pick in space or we can pick the green check mark up at the top where it says close array right there. Now the great thing about it is that they've added, sometimes I have to explode this, but if you click on the circles, they're all together as one and it'll bring you back to the settings so that you can modify it. Let's use your escape key to get rid of that. Sometimes I do have to explode it though in order to work with it. So for now, let's leave them all together because we're going to use the mirror command to mirror these circles over to the other side. Now for mirror, we need to make sure that we have our midpoint object snap. It should still be on if you're in the same AutoCAD that you've been working within. You can click on the little arrow down there next to object snaps just to verify that midpoint is on. And let's start the mirror command. The mirror command now is in the modify panel, the second row or middle row right there. It's the 2 triangles that are back to back, mirror. You'll rest your pointer on there and see a little image that's showing you that you can create a mirror image. So I'm going to go ahead and select the mirror command and then select your circles because those are the objects that we want to mirror, and then enter. Now, if you look at your command line, first point of mirror line. So I'm going to click the top midpoint. And see when you pull your mouse straight down, it's mirroring to the other side. You're creating the axis that it's going to use to mirror. You don't have to go all the way down as long as you go straight down and click and then stop for a minute and take a look at what it's asking you. Do you want to erase the source object? We don't want to erase the source object. Now, sometimes we do because we just want to flip an object and we don't need the original one. But this one, we're going to press enter to accept no for erasing it. And there it is. That's our rectangular array and our mirror. Okay, so moving forward, let's create some offsets so we can build this middle piece right here. We have two offsets of 2 from the left and the right side, and we have an offset of 0.5 coming down. So let's start the offset command, type in 2 and enter, select the line on the left side and pick to the right. Now, if the whole rectangle offsets, you know you didn't explode your rectangle. You have to go back and explode the rectangle. So now I can click on the right side here on that line and pick to the left. And now I've got my two 2-inch offsets. I can pick on the top line and pull your mouse down and type in 0.5 and enter. So now I have all of my offsets. I can right click and enter or escape. Now offset is getting better and better. I think you guys are easier and learning it hopefully more. So what I'd like to do is also introduce to you copy. Copy is very similar to move. We're going to explode the circles and copy one of these circles so that we can copy it to these intersections. So I understand that you could just draw those two, but it's good experience. And let's introduce another command or two. So start the explode command up by erase there. Select these circles and enter. Now they're individual circles. Now the copy command is in that same panel for modifying, and it's right to the left of mirror, right there, copy. So be careful here because when you start the copy command and select your objects, you actually are picking 2 points. You're going to pick the point where you want to pick it up, right? Where's your base point? And then where do you want to put it? A lot of people just want to go straight to where they want to put it. So keep that in mind. Watch your command line. Let's start the copy command. And it says select object, so I'm going to select my circle and enter. Now your command line went to the next step. It says base point. The base point is the center of the circle. That's where we want to pick it up. So go to the center of the circle and click. See how you picked it up at the center? And now the second point is where do you want to put it? Right there at the intersection of those two lines that we created. And it keeps you in this command, so I can come over here and click over there, the other one. The move command is exactly the same. So I'm going to right click and pick enter or escape out of that. All right, so I think it's a good idea to use the trim command, but sometimes it's easier to trim and then sometimes it's easier to just erase it afterwards. So we can trim all of this out of the center and then erase the other lines. If you'd like the trim command, you just want to keep clicking, that's fine with me too. So you'll find the way that you like to do this. So let's go ahead and click on the little scissor icon there for trim. And I'm clicking all of these little pieces out. Be careful what you're clicking on here, because take a look at my drawing. You want to get inside the circle, and then look at this drawing, the hard copy. You're coming in and getting all this on the inside, and then you're coming into the circles and getting inside the circle. But we still need these 3 lines right here. So if you want to just keep trimming everything out, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and right-click and pick enter. Come over here and click on these 4 lines and erase them. Just these 4. You can pick the erase icon there, and now you've got this. This is where you should be, somewhere right here. Because now our last step is to use the fillet command. The fillet command is going to give us those arcs that are on the corners. And guys, we have 2 different sizes. So inside the fillet command, as long as we start multiple, we can change the radius as we're working on them. So we have the outside corners that are a fillet radius of 0.5. And these 2 inside corners are smaller. They're 0.25. So let's start with the outside ones. Let's go ahead and start the fillet command right there. Pick multiple in the command line and then pick radius and type in 0.5 and enter. Now I can click on that top line and click the line to the left. Click the left line and click the bottom line. Click the bottom line, click the line to the right. Pick the line on the right and the top line, and now I have all 4 on the outside, but I have to change the radius. I don't have to go out of the command. I'm still in it. I'm just going to click radius in the command line right there. It says specify fillet radius. I'll type in 0.25 and enter. And now I can click here and here and here and here. And there's your object. Okay. So we have another new thing that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at using the leader in this one and not always linear. So we'll have that as kind of an experience, and changing the precision. Not sure, I don't think we did this yet, where down here at the bottom left we have numbers that have go 2 places to the decimal, one that's 1 and one that's 3 places, so we can change that as well. All right, right click and enter. Now let's make the dim text layer current. So drop this layer down and click right on dim text. And let's everybody do this together. Type in D and enter. If you type in D and enter, you can pick the modify button. And here we want to go to the primary units tab. And if you take a look, most of your dimensions on this one are going to be 0.01 place, but we'll be able to modify the other ones. So let's go ahead and pick 0.0 under precision right there under the primary units tab. And I think everything else looks pretty good. There is a 0 here in front of the 0.5, and we can always come back and change it if we need to. Let's go ahead and pick OK and close. Now we're ready. We can start the linear command, not this dimension one, but this small one right here, linear. Click the top left at the end of that straight line right there, and right over here, click, pull your mouse up right here and click. You can right click and repeat dim linear and click here and here. But now, guys, you want to line this up. You could eyeball it, but if you want to line it up so it's exact, come over to the existing dimension and click on it. Right click, dim linear, top, bottom, over and click. We do have this one here. We can get the top and midpoint maybe here. Now you have to kind of move your mouse around and find a good spot to be able to place that. And down here we have the end of the line, the center of the circle, and we're going to need to move this 0.5 over. Remember we said we could click on it and click inside the blue grip that's close to the 0.5 and then drag it over and click. Now using linear, I can go from the center circle to the center circle, and down here, this is the one that's going to say 0.8. Now it will say 0.8 because we need to round it up, so it's 2 places. Once you place a dimension, you can click on it once, right click, go to precision, and pick 0.00. So now it changes from its precision from 1 place to 2 right here. So I'm going to click on it and click on the grip and kind of pull it out so that it's outside of the dimensions. All right, so going back to linear, I'm going to keep going with this one being 0.5 and this one between the 2 circles. Again, we have 0.6 and we want that to be 0.625. So we can click on that dimension, right click, go to precision and pick 0.000. And there it is. Now you can keep it up here if you'd like. I mean, because otherwise you have to click on it and come over here and find a place where it's going to pop the arrows out. So that actually makes it look like the handout. So now we have the 5 down at the bottom, going from the far left to the far right. And this is where we'll do it both ways. So the dimension that's 22x and then radius 0.188, for that one, we're going to use the radius underneath linear. So underneath linear, come down to radius and select that circle, pull your mouse up and click. Now, the first thing you're going to see here is that the precision needs to be changed. So that's one of the first things we can do is go ahead and click on that text right there once, right click, go to precision and pick 0.000. There, now it's the right number, but we need to add text to it. That 22x, which just means that there are 22 holes here. You can double click on the text. Double click on the text. You see the blinking cursor is already at the left side. So we can type in 22x space. And there it is. Click in space and you've got the note. All right, I'm going to escape or right click and pick enter. And now this is the new part. And I'd like to show you off here in space first so that we can kind of get a sense of it. Underneath where we've been getting linear, there's an icon there called leader. And it will help you to create this kind of arrow with a note on the end of it there. So let's go ahead and click on leader, not linear, leader. And stop and look at your command line. It says specify leader arrowhead location. That's what you want. Because if it said leader landing first, then we'd have to change that. That's one of those nested options. So when you start the leader command, check your command line, make sure it says leader arrowhead location, click in space, pull your mouse up and you see the arrow and click. And then this is where you can type in whatever information that you need. And then you click in space. See that? So that's your leader. So I'm going to go ahead and now apply it to the drawing. We can click on leader, click on the midpoint of this arc, pull your mouse up and click, and then type in R. So make sure you have uppercase R, 0.5, and then click in space, and there's your note. I'll just go ahead and erase this one that I used to show you that command. All right, and we have one more over here. So we're using leader. I'm going to click here for the midpoint of that arc. Sometimes I need to be careful because the object snaps are going to pull you all over the place, but this one's pretty straightforward. I can pull my mouse up and click, and now I can type the whole thing in. Uppercase R, 0.25 space, and then typical, so that it is typical, click in space. Honestly, we should put typical over here too. Yeah, so let's double click. If you don't put this, it's okay because it's not on the handout, but it should be. So double click on the text here and use your arrow key to arrow over. So your blinking cursor is at the end of the text, and then put space, TYP, and click in space. So now we have a typical for all the four corners and a typical for these two. So let's go ahead and name this one. We can go to multi-line text. And, notice that we're using all of the one-to-one settings. We're not changing the scale factor or the text type, any of that. We're using all what comes with and what the defaults are. You can see the ABC right there. So I'm going to click in space, pull your mouse down and over. With your cap locks on, you can type in assignment 5 and then your name. You can highlight assignment 5 and underline it up here and click in space. Now that's the project, the assignment. You can go ahead and save it and submit it. Now, if you're working on your portfolio, I would recommend, if you're doing it now, it would be a great time to create your PDF. I'm going to go ahead and do that with you because let me just check and make sure I've got all the notes, just a double check on it. Sometimes I might forget something. I'll maximize this. Okay, so let's click on the little plotter icon up at the top left. Drop this list down of plotters and click AutoCAD PDF high quality print. Now, you want to change the plot area, what to plot, from display to window. Now you're going to click in space and pull your mouse across like you're creating the sheet of paper right here. Pull your mouse down and click. Put a check mark and center the plot at the bottom left. At the top right, change none to monochrome CTB and pick yes. And then importantly, we want to pick apply to layout right here. Apply to layout and then preview. And there's your preview. And you're ready now to either click the printer in the top left or right click and pick plot. And then you can put that file in your folder system, wherever you're saving your files. And if you watch the portfolio video, the next step would be, and if you'd like to continue to work on your portfolio as we go, the next step would be to capture this image and put it in that PowerPoint slide presentation so that you have it for your last project, last assignment.